Welcome to the Going Out podcast, in which board game industry guests bring their own topics and games to discuss. I'm Christina, your host, and we are here to talk about culture. Board game culture, that is. So we love talking about social aspects of games with designer Eric Slauson, who we've asked back, and he's made really great, fun gaming experiences for us with games like MonsDRAWsity, where one person memorizes a crazy, nonsensical monster and then has to describe it by memory to other players, to draw, of course. Tattoo Stories, where you pitch your tattoo ideas, and Nerd Words, a team-based word party game so far about science that no one will play with me. I don't know.
I'll play with you, Christina.
Yay! Well, you designed the game too, so now I don't know. Welcome back. It's so good to talk to you again, Eric. Yeah. What's your topic for us today?
Ooh, okay. So my topic is, how do you decide if a game is worth it? We'll kind of dig into that a little bit later. As you know, the inflation is real, and we got to make some hard choices. And so, yeah, how do you make those choices?
Which is, again, very timely, because I feel like we're constantly trying to cull games too. So, like, how much is it worth this for us to keep or sell? That's like a big thing for us right now too. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think also it's interesting because it's changed for us over the past couple of years. I think too, in good and bad ways. Yeah.
Of course, with me, as usual, is Shu. Hi, Shu.
Hi, how's it going?
And he's going to tell us our topic for today.
So our topic, I'm actually stealing this. These are actually both technically Eric's topics.
We don't even need to be here. It should just be like Eric's podcast, right? I don't know.
You just you take some time, take a walk. I'll just ramble for the next hour.
Yeah, this is Eric's show. This is maybe, as of this recording, 2-3 weeks ago. Eric posted something on Facebook asking if people have any kind of weird or unusual, unorthodox habits when they're playing board games. And his example, and it still sticks with me. I've since told this story to many other people because it's so bizarre to me. It's so great. So, and then Eric, keep me honest here, but the basic idea is, when most people deal cards, let's say the game says...
Okay, all right.
Most people deal... Like, if you have, deal 5 cards to 4 players, you would deal 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, until you get to 5 per player. That's how normal people do it. Eric will multiply those two numbers. 5 times 4 is 20. Then count to the 4 people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, until it gets to 20, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely. And there are dozens of us.
No way. There's no way. There's not even one person. I don't believe that. But
there's Eric. That's one.
Yeah, one.
Yes,
sorry,
absolutely.
There's one. There's no more than one. But
anyways,
anyways,
where that post came from is I wanted to see how weird was I? Do I have anything that is very weird? So yeah, I'm excited to hear yours.
I'm super normal, so it's gonna be like
Christine is super basic, so nothing unusual from her. So anyways, when we get to our topic, we're going to talk about maybe unusual habits that we might have while playing games. Because I was like, that's a cool idea for a topic, so we'll bring Eric on the show and then discuss more.
And find out how else he's weird.
Several. We don't have enough time on this podcast.
But before we dive into topics, we like to highlight a game that we want to talk about. So we'll go first because I've been super excited about the hot new Wyrmspan game from Stonemaier, designed by Connie Vogelman. So it's like a spiritual successor to Wyrmspan, the very popular Elizabeth Hargrave bird game that I've played, I don't know, dozens and dozens of times. Lovely, really great engine building game. Still love playing it. So I was like, well, do you need Wyrmspan? But it's about dragons. So yes. So that was an obvious yes for me. And so we pre-ordered it. So I don't think it's out for worldwide release until end of March, I think March 29th. But we got ours early because we pre-ordered it, not because of anything else special about us. We just really wanted the game. And it came in, and I've played it 3 times already, so I've really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
We've only had it for like a week and a half or so.
Yeah. How many times have you won?
Maybe all 3. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe two or three.
Dangerous.
2 or 3 times.
I think you did win all 3.
Okay, yeah. But it's great.
I love that.
So for people who like Wingspan, I think you would still really like Wyrmspan, and it's very different in a lot of ways. It's sort of like Connie Vogelman with and Elizabeth Hargrave are friends, and so she had these ideas for like different ways to play Wingspan, essentially, or like make her own version of it. And it's sort of been blessed by Elizabeth, and it's like a fantastic game. So if you've played Wingspan, you're taking these like action cubes, and they sort of guide you through like, oh, you're going to work through your engine in a particular way when you take a different action, and there's these different rows of cards as you build out birds that you're viewing. Here, you actually have an extra level of excavating caves because you want to make comfy cave homes for your dragons to entice them in. And then, so you need to excavate, and then you can entice them in. But now, instead of just the action triggering the whole engine, you have a little meeple adventurer person, and you have a separate action of walking down each cave to activate certain dragons. What I really like as an extra aspect of it is not just like a given, you always have this many actions in this round, and then this many in the next round. There's a new economy on actions where you have coins. So every round you get 6 coins, and each coin is essentially an action, but you may have different ways to get bonus coins, or certain dragons are more expensive, and so you pay an extra coin to entice that dragon in, which limits your actions, but you're getting like a really cool dragon, stuff like that. So really interesting twists to things. So like I think it's definitely a different game, but it's sort of the same feel in some ways as Wingspan. So what did you think, Shu?
Yeah, I view it as there's sequels that like they don't change much. Sequels to games. It's like, this is kind of basically the same game, maybe technically better. So for me, that's like Dune Imperium to Dune Imperium Uprising. I'm like, it's a better game, but it's like 90% the same. It doesn't feel that different. And then there's games where I'm like, oh, this sequel I think will make me not ever play the old one again. Like, Great Western Trail New Zealand over Great Western Trail. I'm like, I don't know.
That's a hot take too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would go back to the old one anymore. This one I think kind of sits in between. It's like fairly similar. It will feel very familiar, but I love the changes. I'm like, will I go back to the old Wingspan? And part of that, it's not a fair all those comparisons I just made aren't fair because I played the original ones a lot, so you're kind of ready for something new. But I definitely like the changes. I'm like, this doesn't feel like someone just reskinned Wingspan, and it has its own personality. It has its own feel. We played it with both people. I think everyone you've shown it to have played Wingspan before, right? Or most of them.
Most of them.
And they all liked it. They like right away. A bunch of them were like, "We're gonna buy this as soon as it comes out."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's already like kind of like in our group of friends and our kind of circle of industry friends and such. Like people are already like, I gotta buy this game when it comes out because Christina's been showing them. But yeah, I really like it. I also like that, there's what is that thing called? Where is this a rondel?
A dragon guild.
There's a dragon guild. There's another board where if you get this specific action, and it might trigger from excavating caves, some dragons might trigger this, where you move this token around and you collect additional resources. It's a little bit of a race because if you hit certain milestones, you get to put another cube that gives you a really cool power or a different scoring ability and things like that. So there's like extra dimension to this game. But yeah, I really enjoy. I was like surprised, like, because I was expecting basically kind of a reskin, and it just feels like a lot different.
Right.
And the art is beautiful. It's like all watercolor art from Clementine Campardo. I forget her last name. I think that's about right. It's beautiful. Unique dragons on everyone. The whole time I'm playing, we're like, ooh, this one's so cute. There's little hatchlings. There's like baby dragons. They're like so cute.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Sold. Yeah, do you feel like there's the same amount of stuff going on, or more?
I think there's more.
There's more going on. There's more to juggle. Is it more paths to victory, more different economies, or is it kind of how is the weight distributed? Because it seems like there's more weight, I guess, or more complexity.
Yeah, I think there's definitely more weight to it, in a way that it's still very teachable, I found. What I always like about Stonemaier games is a lot of the... there's a lot of text on your player mat, but it all sort of is very helpful because there's like reminders that make sense everywhere, basically. So I think the interface is really useful. But it is, I would definitely say it's heavier than Wingspan.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but not by enough that you couldn't. The same people who like Wingspan couldn't like Wyrmspan, I think. Except maybe because Wingspan's gotten really mainstream as well, fairly mainstream, surprisingly mainstream. So
for its weight, right? I think.
Yeah, absolutely, for its weight. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, like Christina said, like the player mats could be prettier if they just leaned more into the iconography. But I think they did a really smart job of saying like, okay, they probably know a lot of the Wingspan audience will be interested in Wyrmspan.
Absolutely.
Let's just make this easy to play, like all the different Ks. It's like, here are your actions, here are your instructions, here's what to do. So once you get the teach, you could just kind of look at your board like, oh yeah, this is what I pay to do this. This is what I pay to do that. And so there's like text all over the board. Like I kind of liked in a way for teaching purposes and for new players that they didn't like. Sometimes there's just too many icons and people are like, what does this mean again? What does this mean? And they have to refer to the appendix.
There's even a little, like there's a little card for your player reference. And on one side of it is like, a quick start guide for people who really haven't played games. So it's like, try this action next, pick another action, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Stonemaier has done that before, but it's like, pretty cool if you're like not a gamer and you just like help me get started. They kind of walk you through your first 4 turns of like, we would recommend you try this to get your engine going. So yeah,
that's really smart. I think Jamie does a really good job with like juggling both of those, like stuff for gamers and non-gamers kind of in the same game. And I've been doing a lot of like rule book editing for different companies, and that's something that is something that I look for from that first draft that's clearly written by a designer, pitched to a publisher, and they know games, they know all that kind of stuff. And once I start working with a graphic designer, it's like, okay, we got to figure out how to explain this on the player aids, and even though I know there's an example in the rule book and we explained it in the rule book, let's go ahead and put another example on this player aid, or let's put
And I love that when I have to win a game. So yeah.
Absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
Okay, what is the game you're bringing for us, Eric?
Yes. So my game, which I just got to play this week again, another adventure in, is Kinfire Chronicles. It's a dungeon crawl campaign style game from Incredible Dream Studios, I believe is the name of the publisher. I saw it on Kickstarter a year ago, a couple years ago, and just I love the vibe, the art style. I'm like a sucker. I have to. We'll talk about it with how a game is worth it later. I was like, oh, this art style is really cool, and I like the characters, and the pedigree of the people who made it was really neat. Like everybody came from some cool studio or did something that I loved. And then the things that I liked about it, I felt like were things that were doing things differently than other campaign games that I had played in the past and maybe didn't dig as much. It was a lot more... it's a shorter campaign, so there's like 21 adventures, 21 little module boxes versus, something like Gloomhaven, Big Box Gloomhaven, which is 100, and it took my group 2.5 years to play through. Maybe we want to do something really quick. We want to like dip in and out of the universe and like have this little thing. But maybe if we really love it, replay it with different characters, make different decisions. Like it's more. I felt like when we were playing Gloomhaven, we would say like, oh, next time, or like, oh, when I play this character next time, and like it just never happens.
Are you really?
Yeah. There's just so much content. So yeah, I am obsessed with this game. I've been like tweeting about it, trying to evangelize on Facebook, and the company actually reached out to me. They're like social media person, DM'd me on Twitter, and they were like, hey, can we use some of your quotes for like things? And I was like, yes, absolutely, because I love this game. It's just the world building is so cool. The card play system is really interesting. But also it's very simple with cool like little decisions to make. I think it's closer to something like Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, where it's a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for?
Like streamlined?
Streamlined, yeah, a little bit more streamlined. It is a book. It's a book a book adventure, so you like open the book and there's the map for adventure 3 or whatever. You don't have to put out a whole bunch of pieces and pack up a whole bunch of pieces. It's very smooth. Each adventure is like 30-45 minutes. You can play a bunch of them back to back. It's great. And some of the best. It's really good writing, and then I don't want to spoil anything because hopefully I'm getting a lot of people to buy this game right now, but there's so many little touches and little artifacts in the box, like little maps and little just, I don't know, you feel like
you can imagine
in that world.
Yes.
Yeah, you feel like you're in that town or in that city or whatever. It's great. I love this game.
That sounds awesome. Like for us, it's really hard to find time for campaign games. Just like our lifestyle is more like we're gaming 2-3 times a week, but we're like different groups. Like today, after this podcast, we're gaming with a Phil and Raina from 1 Minute Board Games. Tomorrow, we have another board game with a different group playing a different set of games. So it's like hard, even though we have some regulars, it's like just hard to like commit to playing one game over and over. But like, when you said 30-45 minutes per session, I'm like, ooh,
that seems doable.
Yeah, because we started playing Frosthaven with 1 Minute Board Games, and then we had to put it away because we needed the table back. And man, and the same exact thing happened to us with the original Gloomhaven. Like the minute we put it away, it becomes a huge obstacle. Yeah, it's like we have to make a really big commitment to be like, to even break it out again and set it all up again and remember and reteach ourselves how to play the game because it's been a few weeks.
Months now. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was looking for. I love Gloomhaven. I played the game. I played with the Jaws the Lion. I have the video game or the computer version. Like, I love the system and the universe and all that kind of stuff. But this is like at the end of 2 years of the campaign. I was looking for, okay, what are we going to do next? One of the people in my a group was about to have a kid, so I was like, okay, we have this window. We have before you're gonna be very busy. So it just like arrived at the perfect time of like, oh, simple, fast, still kind of fantasy. We're still getting to do cool card play and build our decks and figure out the meta and all that kind of stuff. But we're not. It's let's meet up to play this game. The campaign's going to take 2 hours or an hour and a half, and then also there's an hour of setup and cleanup, or because we don't have a table that we can just and leave out. So with Kinfire Chronicles, like there's actually no pun included. Just did a video on it, and you can see like the top of the box opens up. It's like magnetic, and that's the board. And then like the storage solution is just like everything has a little place. You're just taking out one box and you play that one box and then you put it back and grab another box. It's this game.
Man,
it's
now I kind of
right? I think he's selling us.
Yeah, I'm kind of like more and more. I kind of want to check it out now.
And if you dig the universe, they're like expanding it into other stuff. So they have like these cool gateway style like strategy games set in the same universe with the same characters. There's like Kinfire Delve, like this collaborative card playing kind of game, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So get into it. It's
Who publishes it?
I believe the name of the studio is Incredible Dream Studios. Okay. To double check that.
All right. Well,
maybe it's the time concern. Like, okay, how many
Yeah.
sessions to finish a campaign would you think?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 21 boxes in the game, like little modules. But you might not see all of them based on like the characters' decisions, like your decisions in your group. So we haven't like finished ours all the way, but I think we're on track. We might do like 15, 16 of them or something. We're pretty religious about like, okay, I think this quest will lead us to a side quest and this will lead, so we're chasing down a whole bunch of different leads. But yeah, I mean, I think again, each one's 30-45 minutes, and that's like with the 20 hours and 18 hours, that's nothing.
yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we just don't have a third and fourth. We'll see.
yeah, you can play 2-player. Easy.
Okay.
That does make it easier.
Yeah. Okay, but we have topics to talk about today.
Oh, yes.
So, our first topic is ours, I think. Shoot, why don't you reintroduce that?
Okay.
Well, it's Eric's actual topic, but we stole it.
This is the one I'm stealing from Eric because he posed this question on Facebook.
Right.
Again, it's like, do you have any weird habits that you do? So, Eric, we talked about your really weird
The
one.
very logical thing that so many people do and nobody talks about.
So you said you found other people since who've come out and say they do it the same way you do it?
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm the only I'm the only weirdo who counts up to the number. But yeah, I actually posted that as kind of a little bit of research for an expansion to a game that I have coming out through Pandasaurus in a few months called Vibes. And the whole like concept of this game is that there's like a prompt card, and it's some sort of like very specific habit or feeling or emotion or reaction, and then everybody is like secretly reacting to that, like, oh, I do that, or I don't do that, or I do that sometimes, basically. And then you guess, like, everybody guesses what the group said. So like,
and we played the prototype of this.
Oh,
actually.
very cool.
I think when it was called something about relating to.
Oh yeah, relatable. It's been relatable. It's been big mood. It's been is it just me?
Something
It's
like
been
that.
all kinds of
Yes,
stuff.
and we had a good time with it. Yeah.
But
that was like what Alex brought that over, right?
Yes.
Oh yes. So you get a little behind the scenes or a little preview there. And, so we're doing like a little gamer pack or a little board game kind of video game pack, and the fun thing about writing these is I know things that I do that are weird, and so it's fun to kind of write things like, am I the only person who does this? Is it specific to me? And so I try to talk to other people and run things by my wife or run things by other people. Like, is this too weird? Is this too only Eric? Is this just a card for me? So the Facebook thing was really cool to see. I don't know if you remember some of your favorite ones or the other ones that kind of stood out as far as board gamers, like the things that were like weird habits for them. Yeah. Or if you have any. Do you have any that you think are weird things that you do?
I have a ton, but I don't. I kind of realized when I was trying to think about what would I say for this category, that they're more kind of like anal retentive OCD type things.
Okay. All right.
So I'll just like list a bunch of them real quick. And I noticed actually Christina was doing one of these the other day. Okay. So when people
super normal
when people discard cards to a discard pile.
You're one of these.
You already know what I'm gonna say. Oh, yeah. And they're facing different directions. I'll fix them.
Of course.
And it's this weird thing of like, I kind of want them to kind of, hey, I noticed she keeps fixing them. Maybe I could just discard them the right way so all the cards are facing the same direction.
Oh, I see.
And sometimes they don't pick it up, but I'm like, it's not a big enough deal for me to raise it as an issue. I'm not going to tell them, hey, can you do me a favor and discard it? Because then it gets like, oh my God, this guy has so many rules around playing games. So I just like, it's no effort on my part, so I'll just fix it. But I'm always like hoping that they'll pick up the hint and then start discarding cards the right way.
There was this one person I played with where like I noticed they always started like discarding it the opposite way, so I flipped the whole deck, and then they started discarding it the other way again.
My gosh.
And so I was just like,
this is
I can't.
They're playing mind games. They're trying to distract you from the real game.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
She's so anal retentive. Can't deal with it.
If I distract her with the discard deck, she won't see my master plan unfolding on the board.
That could be it. Yeah, so that's like one thing that I do. So it's kind of a weird habit, but I think it's just like, again, being really anal retentive. Yeah. And then before even that moment, it's like, if I, like sometimes when you're setting up a game and you have, okay, you deal these out, you get everyone their money, you give 5 money to everybody, you shuffle this deck. And then when I see someone shuffling, and then the same thing where when I shuffle, like when I break a deck into 2 to shuffle, I'll turn them in a way so that they'll still shuffle all in the same orientation.
Yes.
When I see a friend not do that, and then you could tell from the backs of the cards that they're all like mixed up in different directions. I'm just like,
you're breaking into a sweat. I could see.
Yeah. So they're already like, well, like maybe the discard will slowly fix this, like by putting all the cards in the right direction. But I'm just like, oh, why would you do that? Now all the cards are in different directions and dumb stuff like that.
That's so funny. When you just did one that was one of the ones that I wanted to bring and ask is one of the things for me is just always saying money or gold for like no matter what the currency is actually called or like what it's supposed to be thematically or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, that's 2 money or that's just 2 gold. And there's like no gold pieces. They never say gold in the rule book. It's just always gold. So that's one for me that I
think I try to use the name because I think it's really funny sometimes when the name is like just super like supposed to be thematic, but nobody's gonna call it that. And then I don't know. I just sometimes insist on it just to make it annoying.
Yes.
I think it's funny. I've done that before, calling something gold when the coin is clearly silver. It's like we're still calling it gold, moving around these little silver-looking pieces.
Absolutely. Do you do sound effects? Do you do your own sound effects in games? Like you're moving, you're playing a train game and you're moving like, or like, I do
I'm it jokingly.
Oh, okay. That still counts.
What did you say?
I do it jokingly. Sometimes I'll like, I troll the people I play with sometimes. So I'm like, okay, so you're moving a train, so you have to make that train sound now. Yes. I don't do it. I make other people do it. So
yes.
Yeah, I don't think I do anything like that. No.
I make a lot, especially if there's an explosion involved. I feel like I'm more likely. So if I'm playing, like Gloomhaven or Kinfire or something, and like, I'm throwing this bomb or I'm calling down a meteor from the heavens or whatever I'm doing thematically, like I'm like. When I look on the card, I'm somewhat coming from D&D and RPG play and stuff. Maybe there's some stuff bleeding over into that, but one of the things that I thought was really interesting from the comments in that is there were multiple people who said that they don't like winning games or they actively try not to, and their reasons were like really interesting, like. Either they feel like they've taken fun from other people, like other people are having a bad time because they lost, or they don't like being the center of attention, like they're really introverted or shy people, and so that spotlight at the end is really uncomfortable for them. But it was like 5 or 6 people that said this. So, I thought that was a really interesting thing that...
Yeah, they play games to lose them. Okay.
Are they game teachers, or are they just all the time they're like that?
That's a good question. I mean, there was one person that was talking about like demoing things in the booth or pitching a game to a public and losing on purpose so that people have a better time. And that's, of course, you have to do that. That's a rule. But no, these are people, I think, anytime they play a game, either one person said it's like a temporary thing, so they'll like intentionally sandbag themselves so that they can, because they don't like feeling like they're like the biggest threat at the table. They don't like the feeling of everybody ganging up on them, so they'll try to play in the middle until the very end and then like try to score a bunch of points. So I don't know. There's a lot of, it's just fascinating to me, all the little internal worlds that are going on when we're just like, oh, let's play this game, and everybody's casually playing these cards, shoes over there sweating because the cards are the wrong way. Christina's doing things to troll me, and I think she wants me to make the sound effects because she knows I like to do the sound effects, but she's really making fun of me. And then I'm counting cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're all weird in our own ways.
Yeah. We talked about this recently because like Christina. When she teaches new people, she doesn't really hold back because the way you say it is like, I respect the players, right?
Oh, yes.
And then
yes.
So
Christina,
she doesn't
who has won 3 Wyrmspan games. Yes.
Maybe
this makes
2.
a lot of sense.
I'll go check.
Yeah. And then I will, if I'm teaching new people, I don't try to lose ever, but I might not try my hardest. I think of like, it's like, okay, maybe I'll explore a new strategy, or I'll play a little looser or a little bit quicker, unless I see like, I've definitely taught new games where like everyone's beating me. I'm like, man, this is everyone's first time playing it, and I played it a million times, and everyone's beating me. Then I'll try harder because I'm like, this is embarrassing. But a couple more weird kind of OCD-ish habits that I do, like I hate when we're bagging games up and the bags are different sizes, the Ziploc bags.
I see.
So I try to make it like
He's like your most organized drug dealer ever.
yeah.
How many grams of meeples go in this bag?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll try to do things like, okay, if the players all have their own bag, that those are at least are the same size. So then when you're putting them away, there's like consistency. And then if they're all weird, sometimes like games will come with all these different size bags that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to scrap all of them, and then I have an entire pile of bags that are already organized by size. That are just like, okay, I need 8 bags of the same size. So then no matter what you put away, whether it's a player piece, coins, wood, tokens, whatever sheep, that it doesn't matter. You can just throw them into any bag and then it's all universal. So I like doing that. And the last dumb thing I'll do that it's like, I know it's really dumb, and I ask other people, they do it. And sometimes you find someone who does is like, when I put the game away and I put the box lid on, I also want that facing the same direction as the back of the box. So, kind of like you bought it new.
I see.
Yeah, it bothers me if it's like askew by 90 or 180
So
degrees.
only the Turing machine actually rewards you for that.
Oh, interesting.
The Turing machine deduction game, they actually have cutouts. So that's the whole thing where like the code for like the clues and stuff are little punch card cutouts. That's the theme. But even the outside box, the lid cover, if you put it on the right way, then the green shows, and if you put it in the wrong way,
funny.
it's red.
That's so funny.
I forgot about that. That's so awesome. Yeah.
Now, shoot, let me just ask you a follow-up question here. So the games that are behind you on these shelves, what side is facing out of of these games?
So I try to.
Would you say that it's the front or the back?
Yeah. So some board game companies will make like their sides of their box. One will be like the logo will run kind of designed so the game's laying horizontally. You can read the logo horizontally, so kind of lengthwise. And it's sometimes they'll do a smaller version. So if it's bookend style storage, that you can still read it upright and not have to tilt your head 90 degrees to read it. So if they do that latter way, I'll try to make that facing out. If it's otherwise, I'll just like whatever side that shows the logo the best, because sometimes it's like a UPC code and a bunch of fine print.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's ugly, so
That's
I'll turn that away.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing about all this is that if you look behind us, and you can't, if you're just listening to the audio podcast, you can't tell, but so we have a huge wall of board games. Like I'll maybe I shouldn't mess this up. Like
I trust you. I can see it.
We have a huge wall that keeps going way, way back there. They're all facing if the way you would enter the room, and if you walk down this long the length of the room, if they're on its end, if it's like a bookshelf style,
I see,
standing up, vertically stored game, the front of the box is facing that direction. So if you just walk into our room and go down this length of this room, if you pull every game out, most likely you'll see the front of the box.
I think
you'll never see the back of the box. Unless,
I think I'm your nemesis. My shelves, I'm not going to mess up my camera, but it is like anarchy. It's just like, if I fits, I sits. And that's that's vaguely, like I think that'll go in there, and it's some are on their sides and some are, the Kallax can probably hold a couple more games, but I haven't like efficiently smooshed them in there, so there's like a little half-inch gap in there where there's no game. And so
is that a rash started?
Yeah.
I'm breaking out into hives.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's always like, why don't you help me put these away? I was like, you have a system.
There's a system.
And if I mess the system, I don't know, man. That's not your problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, so those are the...
No judgment. Yeah, I love. It's a beautiful shelving system. I appreciate, going to the discard pile. Now, especially if you're playing a game that's like, look through the discard pile and pick any card or whatever. I would love for you to organize that, so I'm not, rotating things and going through that kind of stuff. So.
One more thing about that, because specifically in Wyrmspan, right, the backs are the type where you can't tell if if one weighs up or down, right?
Okay.
So it's for people who are not us, basically. And so even though I know they're encouraging me not to care because it could go either way, I will still fix it because it just bothers me.
So you have to look at the
front
dragon
side. And I'm like, oh, I wish the back were more one unidirectional. But that's just for me. So anyway.
Fantastic.
But we do have another topic, right?
Oh, yes, mine.
Yes. What is your topic, Eric?
So one of the things that came up in this comment thread was the idea of replayability versus variability, and people making a decision about whether to buy a game. If you can only play that one time, or you can play that. Oh, I'm gonna play this 20 times, and then they never do. And this kind of goes into my larger category of how do you decide a game is worth it, worth buying, or if you've already bought a game, what triggers regret, what you've played it, or maybe only played it a certain number of times. And I had an experience where I was at a convention, and I played this game. I demoed a game, and it was a party game, a this card plus this card makes a joke, kind of game. So simple, funny. The writing on the cards are really great. The demo is really funny. I was laughing immediately, and I was like, oh, great, easy. I'm going to buy this. I know that I can play this at board game night. And they, kind of rotated the little credit card machine over, and it was $35, which isn't a lot for a board game, but my brain was okay, party game, joke plus card plus card joke game, that's $20, $25.
Yeah.
That's how much that is. And so I kind of hesitated, and since then I have just been in a spiral of why did I hesitate? And we played it several times. The name of the game is Improper Nouns, by the way, and it's hilarious and great, and I don't regret buying it.
Okay.
But it's gotten a ton of play. I've taken it to several game nights. It's been great. More play than some of the strategy games that I bought for $60 or $100 or whatever. And so, just like you said, earlier, my decision-making process has kind of gotten different or more strict or more specific as I've gotten more years of collecting games or buying games. And I think now it has become a game is worth it, or I'm more likely to buy it if I know for sure when I'm going to play it, or that I can get it to the table. Because there are so many games where I bought it out of respect for the rules are so cool, or the mechanics are so neat, or it's a game that we already play. I know that my friends are going to like this, or they would like it if we play it, but there's not already a time on the book, so there's not a guaranteed thing that we're going to get together. So I feel now I'm more likely to look for something specifically for game night, or I teach a board game club after school for my high school, and so if I see a game that I know fits within 30 minutes or 45 minutes that we can play after school, it's not too taxing because they've been at school all day, it's fun, it's school appropriate, whatever, that's going in my cart because I know specifically what it's good for, and I will be able to play it. So but outside of that, I keep going back to that moment of sticker shock and being socialized to think that from Target or whatever, this party game is $15 or $20, because they printed 30,000 units of it, and
and it's in Target,
and it's in Target, whereas an indie creator, they don't, maybe print 2,000 units or 5,000 units, and so you're not getting that unit price down. So even knowing that behind the scenes production value, there's still that okay, all right, recalibrating, and I don't do that with a whole lot of other things, going out to eat. I know that y'all are foodies, or and so lay down $50 for a meal, and I just ate it the one time, and that's the only time I get to experience, versus
Then
like,
you get to poop it.
you
But
do get to poop it, so you get to experience it twice. That's fair. You're right. Maybe some burps in there, and so a little, yeah. But yeah, and so I'm like comfortable with that. But a $20 game, I'm like, am I gonna play this? How many times am I gonna play it? I'm like more precious about this thing that should potentially have multiple plays.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. How do you make these decisions about whether to buy a game or whether you regret buying a game? Yeah.
Well, first I want to say I love that system of yours. Like I was like, when you're saying like, do I know you already have a time slot in mind for when you're going to play this game? And I'm like, can we adopt that system? I'm like, no. Like it doesn't quite work for our lives, unfortunately. But it's an awesome idea.
A couple times, like we played through My City. A Reiner Knizia sort of small campaign polyomino game over COVID with our like small little COVID group. And so we still game with them. So then when I saw My Island, I was like, okay.
That's the sequel.
The sequel, I think I'm going to get it because we played it as the little filler at the end of our night at all of our game nights with the same group. So I have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like a regular it's kind of it is a campaign game, but it's like super light that we could just play like one session of at the end of the night. Maybe that's where Kinfire Chronicles could come in and fill that spot.
Yeah, just slide right in there. Yeah, a little campaign.
Yeah, I really like that set because we just are usually less discerning. Like we're just like, this looks cool.
That looks cool. Get it.
No standards.
I do think about like, do I have people who would play it because there's like a campaign. It's sort of like almost the other side of the same coin as your system, which is like, okay, can I eventually play it with somebody someday? Yes. Or if this is a game that no one in our group really would play, then no, we're not going to get it. But then we'll just buy it, and then it starts to pile up, like with a lot of gamers, where it's like now we have a shelf of shame/opportunity.
Right.
It's like dozens of games large because like we can't get to them fast enough, and then we'll see something else new. It's like our group would love that, and then I know we'll play it, but it might be months before we get to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think what you pointed out when you were introducing this was like, it really stuck with me because, yeah, I do sort of value like social party light games, like not that much. Even though I would play them more, I like, yeah, $20 seems like what I should pay for this, right?
Yeah.
That's like a typical sort of bar for some reason. And then I think like I'm mentally willing to pay more money for those heavy games because I think there's more components and it's the complexity. But I'm not going to play that nearly as much as a midweight game.
It's
I'm
weird.
like, ooh, this is pricey for a midweight game. Like, why do I think that?
Yeah, so it's funny. Do you know Pat Marino is a designer at the Op?
Yeah.
He has a TikTok channel. I think it's like Pat Makes Games or Dr. Pat Makes Games, something like that. And he talked about this very topic about how he thinks for him, and I think it's like kind of advice. He's like, I think it's good to shift your mindset into instead of looking at, it's exactly what you just said, right? Instead of like, what's the raw value of the components, the art, the box, and everything inside the box, what's the raw value, and then trying to price it in your head of like, what is this worth? And he's like, for him, it's more about playtime, like, and how many times you play it, because he's like, if I played a really simple game, like it's a simple card game, for example. I might be using a different example than he did, but a simple card game, but I played it hundreds of times and it's got hundreds of hours of enjoyment out of it. He's like,
he sleeved it then.
isn't that worth more than a $70 game you play once or twice, right? It's like, should you be willing to pay more for that? And it's like, I think that's good in theory, but it's hard to know sometimes what that future value is because like you might not know, like, oh my god, we've played this game hundreds of times until you've played it 100 times, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think that's what's hard about party games specifically. Like, if I knew, I think we buy a lot of party games because we're trying to cast a wide net of like, because there's always room for party games with our groups, and then we're always looking for it, and it's always fun, right? It's just like you're entertaining a lot of people, they're all laughing, and then people you create some of the best memories from party games. the laughter, the camaraderie, the jokes, the inside jokes, and all of that stuff. So we cast a wide net, and then a lot of them are like, this didn't quite hit, or this is very derivative of better games. A lot of people are trying to do like their copycat version of this or that. But if I knew ahead of time, like, this game is going to be as legendary for us as like a Telestrations or
a MonsDRAWsity.
Yeah,
MonsDRAWsity.
for example. Yeah.
or a Wavelength, or some of our like all-time favorite, like Decrypto or Just One. And it's like a simple party game. It does not much to it, but you're like, I'm going to charge you $50 for it. I'm like, easily I would buy it if I knew I was going to, that future would look like that. Some of these games that we've played for years and years and years and have not tired of.
Yeah.
I think we're improving a little bit because we played that big monster game. It's not really monsters, but Voidfall. Sort of 4X exploration, very Euro-y though, very strategic. We loved it. We played our friend Jason's copy. We had really good time, but it's like, how often are we actually going to play this? You know? So we actually did not buy it, which I was sort of proud of us for, but we loved that game. So,
oh God, make it informed
but I
decisions.
do recommend it for other people who would play it more often, you know? So,
yeah.
I also have this weird buying process that kind of works out for us, but it's kind of strange. Of like, Voidfall is a good example. You just reminded me where I'm like, this game is incredible. We really liked it, and then but our friend Jason showed us his deluxe version that had all the upgraded components. So, and this happened with I think Escape. What was the Dark Tower, the remake?
Escape the Dark Sector. Oh no!
Dark Tower.
Dark Tower. Not the rest. I was thinking of a different game.
Return to Dark Tower. I think, right?
Yes.
Same thing. Like our friend James Hudson brought it over and showed it to us. I'm like, this game's really great. But then I'm like, now that I've been exposed to it, I can't play the cardboard cheap base version. I want the deluxe version. I want these upgrades, and I want this expansion. And then the price starts climbing up, and then I'm like, well, now I don't know if I want it that much anymore. Like, when I priced out Return to Dark Tower, I'm like, this is going to cost me close to $300. I'm like, do I really want it that bad? No. But somehow I can't talk myself down to like the non-upgraded version.
That's so funny. Yeah,
I
think
really
we all
weird.
have these weird systems that don't. Once you start really thinking about it, it's very like, I think I am far more likely to buy games that are one-time plays. Like, I love escape room in a box games. I love like Micro Macro Crime City. I don't know if you've got a chance to play that. Like, so one time through, just play it, and I'm like, oh yes, that's going to be a fun experience. Like, just that one time, and like, doesn't matter how much it is. That's a cool experience, and it's cheaper than a movie or cheaper than going to medieval times or whatever it is.
Medieval times.
Yeah,
So.
but once you get up to like, you know, okay, like, I'm supposed to play this multiple times. You know, like, if the game is pitching that as part of the value, then it invites me to start overthinking that of like, am I going to play it as many times as you think I'm going to play it? You know, so interesting. But I like that you're, that you're trying, that you're making, you're thinking about things, and, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, it's a weird thing where I'll talk myself out of a game, but in the end, it's like, okay, well, I didn't spend close to $300 for Return to Dark Tower or like Voidfall. I forgot what else. I think it was like approaching $240 for it. Like, if I got this the way I want it to be, I'm like, okay, now I didn't spend that much on a game that I'm going to play maybe once a year. Like, if that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then you bring up the whole point of, like, the one-time plays, too. That's really interesting, because we had, that Arkham game designer on, or that puzzle one that was, like, Batman-based, Joker and...
Yeah, the Arkham Asylum
Arkham
game.
Asylum game, right? And so it's a very pricey premium experience for sure. And then I know that was difficult for them to sell, I think, because it was so premium. But, you know, if you consider it like per play, compare it to how much you're spending, for the same amount of time watching a movie, you know, it's there, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense,
absolutely.
but it's so strange to like have these different bars for things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Batman, the Arkham Asylum files.
Right.
The files is the word I couldn't remember. Yeah, by Infinite Rabbit Holes. Yeah, that was a super cool, unique experience. But I'm like, can I tell a friend to spend $100-some? What was it? 100? I forgot what it was. But oh wait, what the?
Yeah.
I'm like Googling it. I'm like, what? $300,000?
That's a Kickstarter. So yeah, I know it's like it's tough to sort of put that value, and it's different for everybody, obviously.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
A lot of the games that I like, probably that I would like, I'm gonna pull the trigger on, is because I know I think there's these hypothetical people I will teach it to who would enjoy it.
Yes.
So it's always like looking to that sort of thing where like it's unique, it's different. Like I like sort of weird stuff that I want to introduce people to. So that sort of factors in also.
Well, to kind of circle things back, I'm curious now that if that's part of your decision making, Christina, do you buy games for others, even though like you're owning it? Do you feel like that's your?
I think it's
definitely
always there. Yeah, it's always there. And then I noticed that of the games that I'm going to teach people, it's different now. Like there's some that I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to teach these people. I think they'll be really happy to play it. And then on the other side of that, sometimes like I'm excited to play that, and it's not always overlapping. So yeah, it depends on the people that I'm playing with, and you know, when they do match, that's great. Then I'm like very happy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely, especially back to the party game thing, is like I will buy games like that I think will make the group happy, and it's usually like our tastes are aligned closely enough that it's not like I'll be unhappy playing this game, but it's like, it's. I'm sure you've done that, and we're kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but like, do you two find yourselves like enjoying a game more because your group enjoyed it, and then do you find yourself enjoying a game less because your group enjoyed it, and
Didn't enjoy it.
Right. So I think it's hard to be completely objective from that point of view. Like just like isolate yourselves. Like, what do I think of this game? I think I'm very heavily influenced by the people around me.
That's a good point.
I mean, the types of games we play are inherently social, even though I love, like, you know, the things some people complain about, like, oh, multiplayer solitaire. Like, I love that crap. Like, that's my favorite one of my favorite types of games. But I am playing multiplayer solitaire with other people. So when they talk about their turns or how they're feeling about that game, that's got to influence me too, you know? So,
Yeah. I love that.
But, yeah. And I feel like I'm not consistent with how I value my games. That's at the end of this conversation.
There's no rules to this. There's no
right.
You know, there's no law that says you can't buy every expensive game. You know, you have there's a limit imposed on that, and that's how much you need to eat, or how much your mortgage
how much
is.
Actual space we have.
Yes.
I will. I've definitely have paid for better versions of games that I already know.
You just did.
Which one? Oh yeah,
El Grande.
Yes,
El Grande. They redesigned. We kind of talked about this as like it's a ugly. The old game is really ugly, and then they recently redesigned it. It's way more colorful, and then we played it, and I'm like, this is still such a fantastic game. It's an older game, over probably 15 years old now. Still fantastic. But it's so much more pleasant. And then I play with our friend Maria, who played the old one with me. I introduced her to the old one. She didn't want to play it at the time because you break it out, the box is unappealing, the board is super unappealing. It's all very drab.
The carpe diem effect is what I always.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then everyone agreed. Like we even broke out the boards side by side. They're like, "Oh my god!" Like, yeah, it matters. Yeah, because people now are like, it's kind of like they start off on a bad foot already. It's like that first impression of like. Now there's a barrier or an obstacle to overcome for them to like the game. They have to like strip out what they're looking at, everything their eyes are telling them about what they're experiencing, and then just like appreciate the gameplay. It's like you can get there, and most people will, but it's just like now there's an initial obstacle, and it's nice to kind of remove those obstacles. But also like we bought it was like the anniversary or the special collector's edition of Tokaido because it came out with
Ticket to
little
Ride.
miniatures. Ticket to Ride. We bought the 10th anniversary edition.
Oh, and your Small World.
And the biggest one was a Small World. I bought the designer edition, which is like a $450 set, but I got it. I had a discount. It's at $400. But it's like it comes in this huge chest, like
it's a steal.
These bigger maps, these awesome metal coins, and then chunky wooden pieces. Everything's like. When you get, it's this game kind of you think it's like Risk basically, but with fantasy creatures, but way better.
Yeah,
all the different races. Like if Eric was like, I'm going to play the elves, and then so I'm going to give him a little box of elves tokens, like wooden Scrabble style token. Yeah. So it's just like luxurious, like felt lined box. It opens up like a treasure chest and it's humongous. It's not practical. I can't really carry it anywhere. But it's and all the like mountains and forts and everything are 3D miniatures and things like that. So it's like, but I was like, I like this game enough that this is not a risk.
So that was enough of a value for him.
I mean, I mean, that's again, like you go to a restaurant and you lay down $200 for a plate. If it's the best meal you've ever had, or if it's like. That's just how much it costs, you know. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I love that for you and your deluxe games, and I think I'm very fortunate that I like strategy games, but as a designer, I tend to make lighter party stuff, social things, and so when I buy my own games, and because of my game groups, it tends to be lighter or gateway or party or something like that. So I mean, you could tell the fact that I'm like $35 for a game, you know, like that might be warping my perception, but like constantly buying like little card games and small party games, but I think that's. But as I expand, like I'm learning more mechanics as a designer to try to put in my own games, or you know, going to conventions and getting to play games with other people, and I feel that tension of like. Like I'm going to buy this game because it's a great strategy game. Like I can see from the design side, it's so cool, and like these components are so neat. And then I bring it back and realize that I don't have people to play this with, or you know, like I'm saving up. I'm going to bring this to the next convention in a whole year and hopefully play it, even though they have it at the Play to Win or they have it at the library, and I could just check it out then. So I think it's kind of I keep circling back to. Do I know that I'm going to play this for sure, like this week? And I think that's whether people like consciously do it. I mean, I think there's some of that for y'all, like buying games for others that you know that people will enjoy. And on Reddit, like on the board game subreddit, there's like a daily recommendations thread where people ask for game recommendations, and like every day there's somebody who's like, I'm going on a road trip and I need games XYZ, or I'm going to my parents' house, they don't understand rules, like I need something for them. And so that's a great example of like, this is something that we do from time to time. Like I know we need a game night for this bachelor party, or we need a game for, you know, we can play it while we're camping or something like that. I just try to do that every time now. I know for sure it's for this specific reason. So, yeah.
Nice.
I like that. I like that guideline.
I really like that. I think why that's hard for us is because like when we moved here, for example, to Orange County, like I worked in video games, and then so we're near nerds, again, people who like games.
Yeah.
And so it's not that hard for us to find board gamers because that's the industry we're in. We're industry gamers.
Right.
And so you really quickly get a diverse group, and it's like, so now it's like, do we have people who want to play really heavy, like this is a 4-hour heavy strategy game? Yeah, we could find people for that. Do we want to play an 8-hour Twilight Imperium? We have people for that. We actually ran one day with 2 tables, 2 copies of Twilight Imperium that went for like 8-9 hours. Do we have people who are like really, really beginner? They just want to play light games. They're just kind of getting into this hobby. Yeah. So your system, we're like in our system, which is like, do we have someone in mind for this? Like, it's like, Yes, almost
Yes,
always,
always.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work for you. I don't think. You're too popular. You've got too many. And
We're so
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah.
We have
Humble
so many
brag.
friends.
Although, of the suggestions you said, I think the pinnacle high value was the medieval times you mentioned earlier, right?
Yes.
You're getting food and an experience,
And a show.
and you get to poop it later.
Yeah, pure vibes alone. I mean, yeah. Getting to see gladiatorial combat and eating with your hands, like where else but medieval times? Shout out medieval times.
Yeah. They're paying me for this.
Yeah, this is a sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
Sponsor, yeah.
We should get him to sponsor us.
Basically an ad read. Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us today, Eric. Super fun talking to you.
Thanks for having
where
me.
can people follow you and any cool things coming up you'd like to plug?
Yeah, so I am on various social media platforms at Slauson Designs. And things coming out. I have Vibes, which we talked about a little bit.
Yes.
Are you weird? Or are your friends as weird as you are? You can find out by playing that game. I just
Who's gonna win?
I just had a game, a Chucky game from the Child's Play franchise that just released this week. It's going out to people who pre-ordered now, so I'm excited about that. I have other games that have released in the past year, Pun of Your Business and Wackronyms, some other party games. You can look those up, but all of those are on my social media accounts. So if you're looking for something silly, fun, light, get to know each other, or murderous, dark, grisly, I guess, in the case of Chucky, then yeah, check those out.
Eric's got you covered.
Yeah.
All right, and then super huge thanks to our editor, Mike Zipkin. And guess what? Shu put up our BGG Con quiz show on our website, so you can play along. This was back in November. I think it's still relevant. But
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun writing it. They were just like all board game trivia questions, so see how you do and stack up compared to other people.
Yeah, so just go to our website and you should be able to find it.
Which is...
goinganalogshow.com.
There you go. Please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And now you can stop listening and go play a game. Bye.
Bye. Bye.